And so the question came up, and we were just laughing about it in the shop. And he was like, "Dang, Mo, I don't know. They might be getting a little sharper than you." You know what I mean? So I don't know who got it. So my response to it was, "You can't be better than me until you train somebody better than you."
Oh man. That shut the conversation down.
Shut it down. So it gave me a little bit more time. I'm
Yeah.
like, because they catching up, you know what I mean? So
yeah, man. But I love to see that.
Yeah,
I love to see that.
To pass it down or pay it forward. And that's the gift.
All right. So I just wanted to go ahead and welcome everyone into the next and newest episode of the Groomcast. You know, we're just coming back from the UK not too long ago. We had some excellent guest on, and I'm back here in Philadelphia. In fact, we're at the 10-year anniversary of the Major League Trade Show, and in Philadelphia, I got to be honest, I'm cheating because there's a lot of really good friends that I have, and we want to get a little more information, get up and close, personal with some of the friends that I have, and I'm quite sure this is going to be a really entertaining one. I was looking forward to this. So I got my guest here, Jamal. Philadelphia barber based, just an amazing barber. You mind giving us your Instagram handle before we get started?
Oh yeah, Instagram is @IamMaxLevel_Mall.
Yeah. Go there, check it out. You'll see what I'm talking about when you check out his page. Maybe you're doing it as you're listening to this podcast, but I was really excited to get Jamal on. This is going to be a great, powerful. I got a feeling it's going to be inspirational. So thanks very much. But I kind of wanted to break the ice by letting you know that I'm kind of ambushing you. All right. And you'll follow where I'm going with it. You ever heard that expression, giving people their flowers while they're here?
Yes.
Yeah, man. Well, that's the really the inspiration for this podcast series. I have some people in the industry who I personally have looked up to and admired. I've seen your journey. I know what it takes. I know you guys make it look easy, but it's not. And I want to give you your flowers, man. I want to really celebrate you. And I really appreciate what you've done. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but you've been very influential in your community. There's been some young guys you've taken under your wing, and you've given your time and resources to the industry. And I think it says something when we're not selfish and we realize that through our success that it's also necessary to give back. You've done that. So yeah, man, I kind of wanted to ambush you, get you on the couch. I want to give you your flowers, give you your credit, tell you that I admire you and I appreciate what you've done. It's been very inspirational for me, and I'm sure that if there's some people new to the audience today and they get a chance to look you up, they can see what I'm talking about.
Well, kudos to you. Thank you. I appreciate that. For one, I always appreciate those that are brave enough to show love. Just in the times of insecurity, hate, and things of that nature, is always, a pleasure to see another brother that is brave enough to show love, and I appreciate that. And I admire your work as well. I admire your mindset and the approach that you took to barbering with your business, which I think is a trailblazing approach to how to do business in the barber industry. So thank you, and I appreciate you at the same time.
Hey, listen, man, I think we need that. I'm not shy about it. I tell people all the time, in my opinion, this is my professional opinion, I go back 30 years in barbering in Philadelphia. Philadelphia has always had something special. We were always on the very cutting edge of the newest techniques and trends. We were trendsetters for a nation. And I'm not embellishing that. I really mean that. Unfortunately, the downside to that is I think that the era that I came up in the 90s and early 2000s, I saw a culture where we didn't share. There was a lot of standoffishness. There were a lot of people who weren't really as inviting, warm, or welcoming. We called it hate back then. We saw a lot of that. But it's nice to see that in this newer era, in this newer generation, that some of that has subsided. And I think that there's a lot of credit to be given and a lot to be said about the impact that has been had here. So with that, I kind of wanted to just kind of find out a little bit more about your background. I'm hoping that, I know we know each other from afar through social network and through coming to trade shows like the Major League Trade Show, but your background, man, how'd you get started with this, man? Where did it all come from?
So, I've had an amazing amount of mentors. You know, I've had mentors. I'm not gonna say amazing amount of mentors. I've had amazing mentors.
There's a difference.
There's a difference. I have had barbers throughout my family for generations. And I found this out during COVID. As a family, we did Zoom calls.
Okay.
You know, since we couldn't be together, and during the Zoom calls, you know, just speaking to the elders, you know, they let me know that we had barbers as far. I have like great uncles that are barbers, and I never knew that. But I learned, well, I enjoyed the barbershop through my uncle, and I just always thought it was cool. So I would come to the barbershop, and first of all, I always enjoyed getting a haircut. I always enjoyed seeing myself with a haircut. I always enjoyed getting a nice haircut that I like. And my dad was really cool because he would allow me to get my own style.
Oh, yeah, one of those days.
You know what I mean? That was, you know, so when you get that, it's a sense of independence.
Yeah, it wasn't a hustler. Give him a number one.
Yeah, not the hustler. Remember the hustler though?
Yeah.
So the hustler, and for all of you guys that don't know, the hustler was just one of the simplest basic cuts that you would give to the children. So, you know, nowadays kids get all these different styles, fades and things of that nature. But then it was just a pretty simple basic cut, a very low cut.
Super low.
If you're in New York, it would be like a Caesar.
A Caesar. Against the grain. We don't want to come back for a month. Take it all the way down.
Super low. And, you know, my dad would give me an opportunity to get the hairstyles that I like. So one of the hairstyles that I really enjoyed was the Jeff. We called it the Jeff. So the Jeff is, it's like a slope cut or a pompadour. So it's lower in the back and it's higher towards the front. And it was my favorite cut.
I could see you with that.
Right?
So you was out there killing them. Middle school?
Listen, middle school, the whole time. But I'm going to tell you what really set it off. What really set it off was the hook part.
Game changer.
Game changer.
Game changer.
So I would have my low in the back, and then you brush it enough, you get a little bit of waves back there, and it's coming up in the front, and I have a hook part, one of my favorite cuts.
Yeah.
And I would be in a barbershop. I would enjoy the environment, the atmosphere, and I always thought barbers were so cool. You know, like they always had good conversation, they always laughed, joke, had a good time, and they were still making money at the same time. So I wanted to be a part of that environment. And one summer, I asked my uncle to work at the shop, and that's when I was introduced to entrepreneurship and business. So one of the things that he told me that would bring in or generate more money for me was selling oils. And so the shop was his uncle's shop, my great uncle.
Wow.
And we were right on 52nd, off of 52nd in, is that Walnut? Walnut.
Yeah, I know exactly where it's.
Yep, Birchall's Fresh Cuts. It was Birchall's Fresh Cuts at that time. And
what year was this, you think?
This was probably early 90s.
So I'm picturing it. I asked you that for a reason because that was when 52nd Street was set up. You had all the vendors.
You had all the vendors outside.
You could walk one block and get every mixtape.
Oh, all of the mixtapes.
Nas, Illmatic. You get your oils. you get your Scully, your hat.
Remember that you get the Scully hat. You can get the T-shirts. Remember the T-shirts that had like the characters. It'd be like one of the guys like this. Yeah. Baggy pants and some boots or something like that.
That's right.
So you had access to all of that.
You get thermals, a pillow, anything you want.
You know, so I'm right on 52nd Street, and he takes me to an oil store and actually gets me a box. And I start selling my oils and sweeping up in the shop. And then he's giving me game. He's like, listen, if you want to get tips, when the guys are about to come out the chair, as they stand up, tell them hold up for a second, grab the small brush, the small broom brush, and wipe off their sneaks. Let's pat it down a little bit. Are you good now, homie? Wow. And that was like...
Yeah, that was game. Yeah.
That was game. Yeah. Because it was the introduction to the experience. Giving, you know, the client the experience, the feel of that royalty. You know, hold on. I see something's out of place. You know, being assertive to their needs and making sure they're at their best when they leave out.
I love that insight because it is more than just a haircut. I think a lot of people unfortunately lose or miss opportunities to really expand what the service is all about. So you come in on a ground level, you know, you got your uncle, he's showing you, hey, this is what my observations are. And there's other ways to enhance this service that I'm giving. Yeah. Right. So I'm sure that was impactful for you, huh?
Game changer.
Yeah.
You know, so now I'm learning how to engage with our clients outside of just the service. And the whole time I never thought about being a barber as a career, but I thought it was cool. I thought, hey, maybe this is something I can learn at some point. I don't know, and it can be a side, you know. And you know, I just over time, you know, just learned the trade. But what really got me into actually cutting hair is from my experience being home, I enjoy getting my hair cut, of course, like I said. And my mother moved me to, we moved to North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
So this is around the mid-90s.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So you went from Philly to North Carolina.
To Charlotte.
Wow.
All right, so we moved to Charlotte around 95.
Change of culture.
Complete change of culture. Now, this is how I can back what you said in terms of Philly having a high bar for male grooming.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Charlotte, it was a completely different technique. It was a completely different, you know, respect for the haircut and standard. So the standard was completely different.
Yep.
So when I went down south, they just didn't know how to do my Jeff haircut right.
Yeah, I mean, if I could jump in there, I want to say something to that because I think the reason why we have a huge crop of talent from the Philadelphia area. So I traveled and worked on the circuit for trade shows and barber expos and hair shows. And I've never been to a city to educate as an educator without another Philly barber there. Oh. Right? So Philly barbers it's a thing. You know, we have a skill set, right? And I think that the reason why we're like that is because our customers, their expectations have been set at a place that's not like anywhere else. You know, so your uncle, you know, bringing you in the shop in the 90s, and those guys knew what a service was. Yeah. You know, they knew they were giving gumbies and juts. Yes. You know, this is generational. Yes. And I think it's different for our culture specifically. Other cultures, you see the mom cutting the hair, or you go to the salon and your mom's stylist does the husband and the son. Right. But for the African American, the Black and brown communities, it's very much a rite of passage, right? So a father comes to the shop, he has a barber, he then has a child, and now his barber is going to cut his son, right? He brings you in, he shows you, and I mean, that was your experience. Your dad says, no, let him get out how he wants it. Why did he do that? Because he had an appreciation for that service and knew that it would be developmental for you. And I think that is why, you know, what we offer is just a little bit different, you know, and it might have been a little ahead of the curve in that way of experience. You just made me think about that.
And you know what? And I'm glad you said that, and maybe going off on a tangent, a pinch. But one of the things I thought about in terms of how Philadelphia appreciated male grooming, or even other cities that appreciated male grooming, because Chicago is another city, and I didn't know this until talking to Nori. Yeah. You know, Chicago is really big on male grooming also, right? And this is what I thought about. I thought about how my father joined the Nation of Islam. And I guess this would be in the 80s maybe, you know. And I just always admired him and his team because they were always clean. You know, high fades.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I never thought about that. Yeah.
You know, and they would brush their hair, waves, and that's how I learned how to get waves. Now, back then, we didn't have do-rags, we had stocking caps. So I would watch my dad do his process. He would clean his shoes, you know, buff and polish his shoes, tie, you know, suit, the whole nine, hat, and his haircut was always clean. So I thought about it. I said, maybe the influence of, or the infusion of the Nation of Islam in Philadelphia and cities like that brought up their standard for male grooming. Because at that time, it was about being clean, fresh, and Chicago is also another city that has a strong influence in the Nation of Islam. So I don't know.
No, listen, I don't think it's a stretch. You think about, you know, just the cultures in our community, even with the beards, like, you know, some, you know, Islamic backgrounds, they carry a heavier beard. So even when I was in barber school, I had to learn how to groom that, what was appropriate or not appropriate. But you're right, yeah. Clean shaven, high fades, those are things. And in our community, you know, it says something about the presentation. Like presentation goes a long way. People want to look a certain way, and I mean that's where we come in.
Absolutely,
that's where we come in. So, so let me ask then. So, you start there. Now we're going to fast forward you, right? You fast forward to now in the present day, right? The present day, max level. You got your own business. You're in the inner city. How are you giving back? Are you passing it on to the next generation?
Yes, it's very important for me to pass. It's very important for me to pass mentorship to the next generation because, like I said, I've had great mentors. My uncle that initially started me into barbering was a great mentor. My mother, who purchased my very first pair of clippers, it was just amazing. It was a Christmas and things weren't the best. I only had a couple boxes under the tree, and unraveled one of them. It was like some underwear and socks. I was like, cool. Still, of course, gracious. You know what I mean? Grateful. Open up another one. It was, a brush. All right, cool. I didn't use a brush. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this third one was a box. I unraveled it, and I looked at it, and it was a pair of Andy's Masters.
That was it. It started your superhero arc right there.
Man.
Best clipper. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm not paid by
sponsored, whatever. Yeah.
Sponsored. Mm-hmm. I love it, Andy's Masters. So for you to get Masters, your first clipper, it wasn't the wall at home version,
at all
from Kmart.
And prior to that, I did have those.
Yeah.
And for me, it was such a blessing because imagine just the saying, "The gift that keeps giving." My mom has passed away in 2004. We would say, you know what I mean, and to think that she left me with something that was going to continue to shape my life and my children's lives. So when we're talking about legacy, it's very important for me to pass on mentorship. And my next mentor is my godmother, and she worked in corporate for years and just was a strong-minded, hardworking individual, and realized that the only way for her to be able to be who all she wanted to be, she had to take control of her situation. She had to be in entrepreneurship and have her own leadership so she can do things how she wanted. And that formed and shaped my understanding of business, and
because there is a difference.
Oh man.
Skill is one thing, but there's no surprise to me that for you to be able to have a successful business and then many branches to what you do in this industry, that there has to be a business mindset behind it, because skill and business really don't go hand in hand. One has nothing to do with the other. So that business mindset is really important. I'm sure that was, formative for you to get that passed down from another family member.
Yes.
So you got all these family members giving you these.
It's been a blessing.
Uncles with the shop.
It's been a blessing. So it's only right that I pay it forward. So as much as I do, I have to acknowledge those that put me in position. It's only right. And that's what I've done. I've, been a milestone in the community, pretty much just upholding those things that were built in me, from, handling business to entrepreneurship, relationship building, like we talked about earlier, customer service, like we talked about earlier, and things of that nature. And so what happened is I just created a magnet that started to pull in, some of the youth that saw some of the things that I was doing and wanted to be a part of it, like how I got attracted to it.
Man, I love that. I mean, there's no surprise for us that this is there's a lot of potholes and, places to veer off the road in Philadelphia. It's a violent place, and, there's a lot of negative things, but to be able to offer something positive where someone can learn a skill that could do the same thing that is done for both of us. We've been able to provide for our families and give back to the community, and that's, comes full circle.
That's full circle. Yeah, so here's one of the things I say with my guys, because they're really good at cutting hair now. Okay. You know what I mean? So shout out to Shiz, Shanks, New, Supreme, and everybody else.
The soldiers.
All my soldiers out there that they have came up under me. They all snipers. Yeah. And so the question came up, and we were just laughing about it in the shop. And it was like, Dang, well, I don't know. They might be getting a little sharper than you. You know what I mean? So I don't know who got it. So my response to it was, you can't be better than me until you train somebody better than you.
Oh, man. That shut the conversation down.
Shut it down. So it gave me a little bit more time. I'm because they catching up. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man. But I love to see that.
Yeah,
I love to see that.
To pass it down or pay it forward, and that's the gift.
You know what that is? That's leadership. I think a good leader understands that you want people to be just as good, or if not better than you. And there's nothing wrong with someone developing and training and assisting, mentoring, coaching someone, and to see them excel. That's my hopes for anybody that I come in contact with. I want them, after meeting me and after interacting with me, if they're not any better, then what does that say about me?
Absolutely.
Right? So I think it's important to, give and to expect that growth out of people. And I thrive off of it. I think it's a great thing. That's
a great mindset to have. That's a testament to the type of person that you are. And that's the other thing, is being a good person. Being a good person. But I do appreciate the understanding that, have the expectation that they get better than you. That's the goal. Okay. So when I'm educating, I'm like, listen, outside of you, I'm the next person that wants you to do as best you can do, because it's a reflection of me. Even if I want to be selfish, I want you to do great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. Well, listen, man, before we conclude, I just got one last question for you. We just want to pick your brain for some gems here, So in this industry, it's a tough industry. It's not easy. We spend a lot of hours away from home. Our families make a lot of sacrifices. We take on a lot. When we employ people, we bring them into the fold. So it's not as easy as it looks. So I've been there before. Perhaps you have. I faced burnout. There's been some times where I second guessed what I was doing. So there's people here listening today to this podcast, and maybe you can leave something with them. What encouragement can you give them? What worked for you to help you get through those challenging times and to make sure that you've been able to, keep pace with what your goals are?
Well, in terms of burnout, I think that it's a part of the process. I think we have to embrace the good and the bad in our journey, because in the bad we learn lessons, and we have growth, and it also builds character. Let's get some character. Let's understand that it's a challenge. Let's face it head on. Let's just ride through it. Whether it's through faith, whether it's through strength, let's put all of our action together, and let's face it and let's move through it. And there's so many times, to all our viewers out there, anybody that's coming up, any young barbers, it's a lot of times where this has really been a challenge. Maintaining, whether it's a barbershop or just maintaining your craft, having doubts about yourself, having slow days, bad days, and it's funny because those days are what you appreciate when you have better days.
It's true.
So embrace those days and understand that that's a part of your story. Nobody wants the guy that just had a perfect life, and everything just happened to work on time, every time. Those things build character. And I think people appreciate us more when they realize that we've came to a struggle and we saw it through and came up out of it. So embrace those times. Understand that these things too shall pass, your struggles, and work through them. You'll be fine. Just continue to have faith and work through them.
Yeah, we appreciate that. You dropped some gems right there.
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna rewind this and write those down.
I
got a notebook where I put thoughts at. I'm gonna write that down.
I appreciate that.
That was good. But yeah, Bill's character. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. Expect it. Embrace it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
So much for spending some time with us today.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure this will be very beneficial to the listeners, and it's truly a benefit to me. But I'll end where I started off at. Again, just want to really thank you for what you've done to the industry, for the industry. Your career has really gone in so many places, athletes and celebrities. You are so super skilled. I love how you expanded your career from just simply cutting hair. You phased it all the way to another extent, which is doing male units. And I mean, it's just been amazing just to see your growth. And, I look forward to see what you have next on the horizon. So thank you very much for your time today.
Yes, sir.
And I'd also like to thank our listeners for tuning in to the Groomcast. And we encourage you to stay connected with us. And we're looking forward to just doing more inspirational things for the barber industry. So thank you very much, Jamal.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you. All right.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Look forward to being with you again.
Pleasure.
All right. This is the Groomcast. Thanks for being connected.